Tech for Seniors, episode 40. Wow, 40. It is December 28th, 2020. One more week and we'll be into a new year. So welcome everybody and thank you for coming. I hope you all had a great Christmas. Hewie, how are you doing up
Yes,
there?
I am doing great. It's been a great week. It's been cold here in Florida, but other than that, lots of good information coming, and it just keeps coming. So we have a reason to be here, and we can share new things on a weekly basis from now until whenever.
You know, I was thinking about that this year, and I thought, everyone has said what a horrible year 2020 was, but Tech for Seniors has been just a blessing in my heart, and I've enjoyed the whole year. I mean, it really has been
Oh,
great.
absolutely.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it
it's
has.
changed. I won't look back on 2020 as a bad time. So at least it did something for us, eh? Bob, what do you think? Same thing to you, eh?
Yep, it's been a good year. Not as people friendly because you can't go out and visit like you used to. Although for Christmas we still got to see three of the four girls, most of the grandkids and the great grandkids. So we did not hunker down.
Bob, I had the opportunity to go back and I looked at episode number 1 of Tech for Seniors. Now, Bob, I had forgot, but you actually were there at the very beginning. I thought you came on later, but you were there in the very, very first episode. For those of you who haven't looked back at the stats, there have been over 1,000 people have viewed episode. Actually, just under 1,000 people viewed episode number 1. I'm so embarrassed. I mean, it was Hewie and I and Bob trying to do this thing, and it was really pretty primitive. It was not very good. And I didn't know anything about video editing. So, I mean, I think the videos we put out now are pretty good. But man, oh man, I'm so embarrassed. But anyway, there's just under 1,000 people have watched that show. And Bob, you were there at the very beginning, for sure. And Ray, are you shoveling snow yet?
No, though there is a little bit in the forecast tomorrow. But what's great about where I live is it gets cold at night down in the low 20s, but every day is in the 40s and 50s or sometimes 60s. So I rarely shovel. I let nature take its course.
I guess, Dewey, I guess you're not shoveling anything down there except oranges down in Mesa. Eh?
Actually, I'm shoveling a lot of stone, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, it's a beautiful day in Mesa and be about 60, 65 degrees today. It was 75 yesterday.
For those of you who don't know, Dewey and Joanne are very good friends of ours there, and they come down. We for the last 10 years we live in Arizona in the winter, and of course Joanne and Dewey are at the same resort we're in, and we pal around. And Dewey is the vice president of our computer club, and so we're always doing things together. So that's great. Well, we're back for another episode before next year. Now, I have a Christmas present for everybody. We're going to make some announcements today. We had a staff meeting earlier, and I wanted just to tell you a few changes that are going to occur for the new year. Now, don't get excited. You're all going to be very happy with this, and we have a Christmas present for everybody as well. So, with success, we have, of course, increased numbers. We have a lot of people watch the show. As I said, 1,000 people watched episode number 1. And when we tape these, of course, you know that we're taping them and we reproduce them, and they come out as a YouTube video, and you can watch all 40 videos, which a number of services now are doing, and they're working through all our past videos. So we are successful, and that's fun. The problem is, of course, with our Zoom meeting we can only have 100 people. Our Zoom license only is for 100 people. So once we go over the 100, and I predict that will happen very soon, then people won't be able to get in. Also, if we lock the meeting at 9 o'clock and you can't get in after we lock the meeting. So to solve this problem, we are going to continue exactly as we're doing. So the meetings will not change a bit. Everything will remain the same. The meeting IDs will remain the same. It'll still be a Zoom meeting, but we are going to broadcast YouTube live starting next week. Now, what will that mean to you? Well, it won't mean anything to you unless you get locked out or you can't get into that first 100 people that come into the show. And that means then you can just watch the show on YouTube Live, and there's no limit. We can have millions of people watching it. So the show will be broadcast on YouTube Live starting next week, in addition to what we're doing now. So you'll still do your Zoom meeting. We'll still do everything the same. But if you can't get in, then it will be broadcast on YouTube Live. Now, you're probably wondering how would you find where to look on YouTube Live? Because it will be a different different site each. It'll be a different identifier each week. So what will happen is that in the newsletter, and we hope that you all have signed up for the newsletter. In the newsletter on the top left-hand corner, there will be a little article that will say, and this week's live YouTube will be at this link. And we will be putting that in the newsletter, and that will come out in the Saturday newsletter. Also, if you can't remember where you put the newsletter, and it's now Monday morning, just go to our website, Tech for Senior. It'll be up in the top left-hand corner, and it will just be the link. And you just click that link, and boom, you'll be into YouTube Live, and you'll be able to watch the show. Well, not the whole show. Here's what we're going to change a little bit. When Ray's piece comes up, which is the music segment, we're going to sign off on the YouTube broadcast. So you will see the whole show up until the music segment, and then Ray is going to come in at 9:50, well, or 10 to whatever your local time is, but we'll come in, and that last 10 minutes will be the music, part of it, but that part will not be on the YouTube broadcast. And that's for copyright problems and all sorts of other issues that we have. However, what we are going to do, it will be the intro to what everybody's been asking for all year, to our question and answer session. And we're going to hold, so the meeting will go on for an extra probably 10 minutes after the meeting, and we will have a Q&A session, but this is only for people in the of course, the Zoom meeting, and we'll have a question and answer session, and you can ask questions about any topics on the show. Now, most of us have been on, we've already done about an hour's work before we get on the show. So we want you to sort of be careful with this. The social stuff can happen in the first half hour. We like the questions at the end to be pertinent to what the show is about. And so it's not, why does my computer not work? But if you have some questions about some of the things we talked about in the show, then we'd certainly be there to answer your questions. And we think that will go on for around about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, we'll see. And then we'll just end the show. So now all you that have been requesting all year to have a Q&A session, we're going to add that into the show for you, but only on the Zoom part. The people who are live streaming, they will have finished before Ray comes in. Today, so we're going to do a practice run today. We're not live streaming today, but we are going to stay along and after the meeting, and we'll do a Q&A today for you as well. Now, I hope that everybody's happy with that. That's your Christmas present. We're going to give you the Q&A, and we're going to make things better, and we'll be live streaming. So if you can't make it, you can't get in, then you can certainly watch it on the live stream, and it will also be recorded, and it'll be put onto YouTube, just as it has the last 40 sessions have. All right. And I'll write this up and I'll put it in our newsletter again. If you don't get our newsletter, please subscribe, and and we can keep in contact with that. All right, let's move along now because we have to keep going. I asked everybody.
Does the Zoom session still start at 8:30?
Same thing. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. Yeah. Everything will be the same. So let's start now with our predictions. Remember, I asked our expert panel that we have today, I asked them what their predictions for the next year will be. What do you think is going to happen? So let's see what they have to say. Why don't you go first, Hewie? What do you think's going to happen next year?
Oh, I got 5 or 6 items here that I've got on my list. The first one I talked about on my Windows Special Interest Group a week ago Sunday that I
Oh, I can't
hold.
just.
And I had a a discussion actually go afterwards to what people felt about it, because I think Microsoft is going to introduce Windows by subscription. In other words, it's going to be cloud-based. I've read some articles about it. I've listened to some discussions about it. I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen either first or second quarter of 2021. I think working at home is also going to continue. Some companies are starting to open up their offices. I know that one of the radio personalities I listen to out of Orlando, he has been quarantined at home for 200 and some odd days. And next week they're sending him back into the studio. So I think, but there's still going to be a lot of people working from home. I think Zoom and other products are going to remain widely in use. And I think we're going to see more and more other companies trying to compete with Zoom. And so we're going to see some other choices. Microsoft's Teams is becoming very popular, although to run a Teams presentation or meeting is quite involved, but for most of the people who join it, it's fairly easy to get on and you don't have to have a Microsoft account. I think tech for seniors is going to continue to grow. I see fast broadband services prices begin to drop, especially when we start seeing possibly the Elon Musk Starlink start taking hold, and some other things going on that are happening in the industry. Hopefully that the broadband prices will drop. And I also think that user groups are going to continue to hold Zoom meetings. Those who are surviving and doing fairly well. Those who haven't come to this technology are starting to fold. And then some, once we start having real live meetings again, not everybody's going to go to them. So I think what we're going to have, a lot of the user groups are going to be hybrid meetings, where there's going to be some people in the audience and some people at home, and they're going to have to work out all of the logistics and all of the technology for it. And that's my predictions for the year.
Thank you. I agree. I think you're right on the money there. Bob, tell us all security will be fine. There's going to be no bad guys, and we will live happily ever after in the new year.
I have a bridge I'd like to sell you. You're going to wind up with more COVID-related infections, fake vaccination offered. You will have an increase in healthcare and pharma. Bad guys going after them. You're also going to have a problem
Right.
next thing. They're probably going to have some changes in passwords and the way they're being used. It's simple. No matter how much you preach, they're never going to change. So you can expect more restrictions. You're going to have to start using your smartphone as some kind of secondary identification. Most of us already use two-factor authentication, or many of us do, but it's going to be more prevalent because the passwords alone don't work. There'll be other biometrics, facial recognition, handwriting, all kinds of different things, fingerprints. Deep fake, be careful. That's getting to be to a point you can't tell the difference between a fake and a real. And more people are going to fall for things that look so genuine because they are getting much better at fooling people. And as soon as you click on one of those things that you believe to be the real, genuine article, now your problems are really going to start. That's just some of the things, but expect another increase, especially because more people are now home, more people are using their smart devices, and the more of us use it, the more money the crooks can make when they get into our information.
Thanks, Bob. And interesting. We'll be talking on two-factor authentication part 2 today. Well, we'll go right into your talk. Ray, tell us tell us we're going to have great music and life will be good. And you've got some positive notes for us.
All of the above. Let me, I did a little PowerPoint presentation. That'll only take a couple of seconds. Let me start that.
Okay, Music World Predictions, otherwise known as Where Do We Go From Here? Where do we go from here in 2021? Well, COVID-19 has affected the music business as much as any other industry, maybe more. Consider today, there are no large-scale in-person music concerts in stadiums and arenas. Small venues and clubs that provide musical entertainment are closed. Studio recording is limited. Those out of work will not be spending limited funds on music-related activities. This is a meaningful impact, as musical artists in recent years have garnered most of their income not from the physical sale of recorded music or even streaming and downloads, but from in-person concerts, which also includes the selling of things like clothing and other types of merchandise. So here's my predictions. Prediction number 1, concert live streaming to grow. Concert live streaming is when an artist does a live show where there are no or very few fans in attendance. Often these are done from the performer's home, so expenses are kept to a minimum. An example of this new phenomena is the upcoming T-Mobile Presents NYE Live with Justin Bieber, set to broadcast live on New Year's Eve with 2 rebroadcasts during the next 2 days. Nosebleed seats for in-person Bieber in the past were easily over $100 each, but this live streaming concert is only $25. In fact, T-Mobile customers have free access. So lesser known performers can also gain money from these types of broadcasts using such innovative concepts as a tip jar. Prediction number 2. Music streaming will continue to expand. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and others continue to expand their streaming portfolios as more users sign on to their services. Streaming has surprisingly decreased music piracy, as consumers find it more advantageous to pay $10 monthly than spend the time trying to copy low-quality sounding songs from the internet. Streaming services continue to offer more offline features, eliminating the necessity of having a constant internet connection. And then more servers now provide in-home use of their music offerings. As an example, Sirius XM subscribers that receive music in the car can now obtain a free download of this app to hear music in the home. And prediction number 3. HD vinyl records to emerge. So the Recording Industry Association of America reports that this past year, 2020, vinyl records will have outsold CDs for the first time since 1986. Think about it. Those of us who can remember back in the mid-'80s how when CDs came in, vinyl records would be gone. Well, in fact, vinyl records are still here and CDs may soon be gone. Record sales accounted for 232 million of music sales in the first 6 months of 2020, while CDs brought in only about 130 million. So there's a new process in manufacturing vinyl records that has emerged, and this will make the creation procedure more digital related. So the outdated process from last century in making a vinyl record has improved to a fast and eco-friendly method of offering the best analog possible. Thank you, folks. Those were
All right.
Well, that big box of vinyl records I've got upstairs, I guess I'll be able to, that'll be cool.
Oh, they're valuable. Don't throw them away.
Okay. And Dewey, do you have any wise words? You're the wise, I always think of you as the wise man. Whatever Dewey usually says, it always comes to pass. So what wise words do you have for us?
Well, they're not particularly wise, but I've kind of been on a 5G kick the last couple of weeks. And so my prediction involves a 5G, which I always refer to as cellular 5G, just in case there's anyone out there that's just a little on the edge and doesn't understand that 5G is strictly something cellular. I predict that in 2021, cellular 5G will become the standard for cell phones. Though 4G and 4G LTE technology will continue to be used, it will be fading away. For most people, though, 5G will not be the predicted 10 to 100 times faster. 5G also will be more efficient. I should have stated after that first sentence that it won't be 10 to 100 times faster, that rather it will be more like 5 times faster, far short. 5G will also become more efficient, allowing one to load pages and download content more quickly, as well as have better quality video calls. Adding value to 5G in 2021 will also be advances in AI, artificial intelligence, and that will upgrade user experiences like never before. So it's all pretty much positive, except the speed won't be what we formerly expected. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very wise words. In fact, one of my predictions as well. So my two predictions are simple. The first thing is, you all know that Zoom is being a very popular service we've used. We all use Zoom. Zoom is coming to all Google products, all the Echo line in Amazon, and to the portal by Facebook. Zoom also this summer will be coming to televisions. So your television will be able to be connected through a little box, and it will have a Zoom, obviously a camera in it, and you'll be able to zoom off your television. My prediction is that, you know, the television industry likes to sell televisions. We have seen 3D televisions, we have seen curved televisions, all sorts of televisions. I predict that by the fall, for our next Black Friday, we will start to see Zoom incorporated and built into televisions. And I think that'll be cool, because then when we come home, I can just say, call Dewey, boom, and it'll be up on the television, and I can see Dewey on an 85-inch screen rather than a little computer monitor. I think that's true. The second thing,
somewhat horrifying.
And I think the second thing is, I think Dewey's absolutely right about 5G. But one of the things that you have to remember is that when we talk about 5G, we talk about mobile 5G, but we really need to be talking about fixed base 5G. And that's where you have the aerial on your roof. And that is pretty much all over the United States right now and available widely. And I think that what you'll see I think Dewey's absolutely right. I think this will be the year of 5G, and you'll be sort of awakened to how fast it is and how cheap it is and how universally present it is. And I think that it will be the year of 5G, and I agree with Dewey on that. All right, well, those are our predictions. And you know something, you guys, we taped all this. We're taping this. So next year at this time, it'll be fun to play our predictions back and see who's right and who's wrong. And I plan on doing that, okay? So we will be playing them back and find out. Bob, are you ready with your security?
Yes, sir. Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending December 25th, 2020. I hope all of you have had a Merry Christmas, and I'd like to extend a happy, healthy, and prosperous wish for a great 2021 to all of you. Disinformation is a cybersecurity issue. Misinformation and disinformation are rife, but so far, it seems a challenge for policymakers and big tech, including social media platforms. Because disinformation is by nature an online risk, it is a challenge for our cybersecurity ecosystem to tackle too. Disinformation and fake news is also part of the delivery package, rather than being the end goal. It is increasingly being used to deliver malware by manipulating people's fear and heightened emotions. For example, Avast has found that fake shops claiming to sell COVID-19 cures that use the World Health Organization's logo were intended to get people to download malware. Disinformation is still an emerging frontier for cybersecurity, and we will need unconventional techniques far beyond data breach notifications and regular fines. All alliances and partnerships must emerge between industry and government. More than that, our fundamental assumptions of what a cyber attack looks like must also evolve. The first step is recognizing it's a new type of online risk where effective cybersecurity is part of the solution. As the coronavirus crisis worsens, hacking is increasing. While you're trying to avoid getting infected with a real virus, hackers are trying to infect your devices with malicious software or grab your personal information. Security experts say that hacking attempts are becoming more frequent in general, and one of the fastest growing tactics is to use the coronavirus crisis as a ruse. In many ways, this is business as usual for hackers, who always use current events to trick their victims. Whether it's apps that promise you free access to Oscar-nominated movies, or scams that scoop up your tax refund, these attacks trick you into acting against your better judgment. But experts say the attacks are increasing in frequency, and it's clear from hackers' behavior that they see the moment as potentially profitable. One attack, described by Malwarebytes, was a malicious spam email falsely offering a file containing information from the World Health Organization on protecting children and businesses from the virus. When downloaded, the file loads malicious software that can steal web browsing data and track everything its victims type. A malicious app detailed by Zscaler promised to show users when someone infected with the novel coronavirus was nearby. We are facing a rise in nation-state attacks. Microsoft security teams detected 3 nation-state actors targeting 7 prominent companies directly involved in researching vaccines and treatment of COVID-19. A crisis always seems to bring out the best and worst in people. So perhaps we should not be surprised that the global crisis was no exception. Put together, however, these 3 trends point to a cybersecurity landscape that is even more daunting than when the year began. The most determined nation-state attacks are becoming more sophisticated. Risks are both growing and spreading to other governments through new private sector companies that aid and abet nation-state attackers. And nothing, not even a pandemic, is off limits to these attackers. We live in a more dangerous world, and it requires a stronger and more sophisticated response. A global strategy to protect against cyber attackers must start with the recognition that governments and tech sectors will need to act together. And that wraps up this week's cybersecurity news. See you next week. It'll also be next year. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Well, I guess security people aren't going out of business soon, eh?
Would be nice if they did, wouldn't it?
All right, let me share my screen. And Dewey has a follow-up. Let's just play the sound here. A follow-up on last week's talk. Let's see what Dewey has to say.
Good morning, friends. This is Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is update to last week's update on cellular 5G. After my presentation on cellular 5G last week, I was kicking myself for not having been more explicit on several points. As I was figuring out how to redeem myself, I came on to 2 recent articles by Sasha Sagan, a knowledgeable writer on 5G at PCMag.com. You all know PC Magazine. Quite a reliable source. This resulted in my presenting some new information on 5G today. Last week, I told you that 5G frequencies are typically divided into 2 categories: slower speed frequencies, below 6 gigahertz, and faster ones that are above 6 gigahertz, and also known as millimeter wave. Mr. Sagan prefers to look at 5G frequencies as being divided instead into 3 categories, calling them low band, mid band, and high band. Much of the focus on 5G up to now has been on high band frequencies, which provide blazingly fast speeds, but unfortunately only travel very short distances, like maybe around 800 feet. And that's, think of cell phones that go miles. In order to provide such much wider 5G coverage, cellular providers need to rely on present low band frequencies, which are much slower, to broaden their network. Sasha Sagan makes a convincing case that mid-band 5G frequencies ranging from 2 to 10 gigahertz, though less fast than high band, will be important to 5G by broadening its distance range. Mid-band 5G reaches out about a half mile from its transmitter, which is more than 3 times as far as high-band 5G, and will likely become the workhorse frequencies that is used in cities and towns going forward. High-band millimeter wave 5G will continue to be concentrated in high-density population areas, primarily found in parts of very large cities. Frequencies at 2 gigahertz and lower, which include low band and present 4G LTE, will be used to broaden coverage in much less densely populated areas and along highways. Another important point is that millimeter wave 5G signals, those are the high band, very high band, drop off faster distance-wise than lower band frequencies. Consequently, cellular providers will need to use many smaller, lower power transmitters to provide more consistent super high speeds that millimeter wave 5G promises. In another PCMag article by Sasha Sagan just last week, it was on the 22nd, he tells current Verizon 5G phone users not in a true 5G area to turn off 5G right now. That's somewhat startling because it actually may be slower. He explains that now this is a little complicated, so follow. He explains that Verizon's 4G network is usually faster when a 5G capable phone is reset to receive 4G rather than being set at its default 5G setting. He postulates that Verizon 5G phones retain their default 5G settings in Verizon's 4G environments to trick the user into thinking that Verizon 5G coverage is greater than it really is. This is directly related to some other information about Verizon. In October, Verizon introduced nationwide 5G, which is based on dynamic spectrum sharing, DSS. I told you about that last week. This reuses parts of its 4G channels for 5G. As mentioned previously, Verizon 5G phones usually default to 5G even when in 4G areas. But Mr. Sagan says, or claims, it's all for show. Kind of a startling claim. PC Mag's recent tests using an iPhone 12 Pro in New York City showed that Verizon's nationwide 5G is usually slower than 4G and rarely faster. Read that sentence again. Kind of startling. Those results were similar to tests done in Chicago in October. Android phones were also used in these tests with similar results. The gold standard of 5G is to use broad, dedicated, standalone channels for 5G traffic. That's what 5G is working toward, the ultimate goal. However, Verizon's DSS, which is the foundation of their nationwide 5G, is deployed at this time in a way that often degrades its 5G speed. Kind of startling. This problem should disappear eventually when Verizon and other carriers are able to fully implement standalone 5G channels. Some humorously say that Verizon's DSS stands for desperately slow system, and others have referred to it as fake 5G. fake 5G, excuse me. In all fairness, Verizon isn't alone with its fake 5G. Other tests revealed that AT&T's fastest mobile network, as they call it, their 5G system, likewise is often slower than their 4G network. The important message here is to be wary of what might be called 5G headline hype in describing cell phone plans. Check that out with Verizon. I think they're guilty. When it comes to cellular providers' 5G plans and cellular manufacturers' 5G phones, it's really important to read the fine print and understand what it says or what it doesn't say. As I said last week, if you're contemplating buying a new smartphone, a 5G phone will usually be a good choice. And take time before to bone up on 5G phones and plans from your favorite carrier. Remember, that's the cellular carrier with the best service where you are at most of the time. Told you that last week. Finally, I'd like to recommend that in the future, if you want to know anything more about 5G, a good starting place is the very brilliant Sasha Sagan at PCMag.com. Wishing you all a belated Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy 2021. Hopefully, the year that sees the demise of our dreaded COVID-19. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm sticking with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and have a great day.
Well done. Well done. And you can ask Dewey questions in our question and answer period afterwards if you have any questions, right? But we're going to move on now into part 2. And it just happens to be a follow-up on what Bob talked about. And it's on our two-factor authentication. So we'll get this going. Let me just get it up here. And we are just going to move this along until we get to about
perhaps you're a casualty of the bot war. So what is in your Google account? It's your Gmail. So in my case, let me tell you what I would lose if I lost my Google account. I've spent years and years and years developing relationships with a lot of organizations I work with, a huge number of people that I know. I communicate daily with them in email. That would all be gone. My Google Drive has 200 gigabytes of data on it. That would all be gone. Now, I've probably got it backed up, but it's still a lot of work to get it back up to Google Drive. Google Photos, you're going to lose all your Google Photos. Oh, man, that would be impossible to put all those photos. I've got 20,000 photos up there. It would almost be impossible to redo that. And the biggest one for me, and I realize this isn't for everybody, but is my YouTube channel. I've spent the last 5 or 6 years, there's tens of thousands of hours in that channel, and all the videos would all be gone. All because of an attack. All because someone hacked into my account, and now it's all gone. So do you want to start over? I don't think you do. So let's get you protected. So two-factor authentication is easy, and it's 100% effective to prevent what I just discussed. So it is a must-have. Let's have a look. So these are the accounts that I have protected. I have Google, Microsoft, Amazon, LastPass, PayPal, GoDaddy, Twitter, and MailChimp. Those all are my accounts that I have two-factor authentication enabled on. So there are 4 methods. There's the simple, the simpler, the simplest, and the totally brain dead one. All right. All right. So let's go to the simple one first. All right. Okay, everyone, we're going to do a little demonstration. Now I'm going to give you something that no one else has. All right. So for this demonstration, I want you to hold your arm out straight, palms up. All right, come on. Everybody get their arm out, and I want you to hold it out straight, but the palm must be up. Hewie, you don't have your arm out. Bob, come on. Dewey, get your arm out straight, palms up. You're leaning on the desk. I can see you. All right, you've got your arms straightened out. and your palm is up. Now, through the magic of the internet, I am going to come into your house, into your computer now. I'm going to walk down your arm, and I'm going to jump up and down on your hand, and I'm going to put something in the palm of your hand that nobody else will have, and it's going to be unique to you, okay? Are you ready? Come on, you got to have your arm out straight and your palm up. Is everyone ready? Let's start this now. Okay, with your left hand, I want you to take your cell phone and I want you to put it in your right hand in the palm. In your cell phone, you will now find a unique 6-digit code that nobody else would have. And that's what I just came in. I put it in your phone, and it's now in the palm of your hand, and that's a 6-digit code that no one else will have. Now, you have 30 seconds to enter it into the computer as your second factor authentication. That, folks, is the first and most common method of two-factor authentication that we have. It is a text message to your cell phone. All right, now all the security people in this room are all going to be jumping up and down and saying, but. And okay, let's talk about the problems with this. In order for this to work, you have to get text messaging. So if you don't have an account or a cell phone plan that gets text messages, then this isn't going to work for you. Most do have text messaging, though, although internationally, when you travel, you will need an international texting plan. Also, some people just don't want to text, and they think it causes cancer or some weird things like that. I don't know, but there are people who just don't want to text. The other thing is called SIM jacking. And this is a targeted attack in which someone actually steals the SIM card out of your phone. They phone the cell phone plan, your cell phone provider up, and they talk them into porting your number onto their SIM card. Then, of course, your secret 6-digit code wouldn't go to your phone, it would go to their phone. And that's called SIM jacking, and it actually occurs fairly commonly. However, these are mostly targeted attacks. And this comes back to the nobody and somebody. If you're sort of a nobody, unlikely you're going to get a targeted attack. But for sure, if you hold a responsible position, you're, let's say you're in politics, and you move from, the risk level would go up as you move from municipal to state to federal politics. As you move up, then of course, it would be more important for you to be very careful with this. So, but it is the most common form of second factor authentication. But there's even a simpler method than this, one that doesn't involve text messaging. Let's look at that. This is where we are going to use what we call an authentication app. This is an app that sits on your phone and provides that 6-digit code, and you don't even have to be connected to the internet. The apps are all free. Now, if you go on to the Play Store, you'll find out, if you look to the left, there are Microsoft makes an authenticator app, Google makes an authenticator app, LastPass, Sophos, LastPass, and the one I use, which is called Authy, A-U-T-H-Y. Now, I will tell you that for many, many years, probably 5 or 6 years, I used the Google Authenticator app. All these apps work exactly the same, and it doesn't matter which one you pick. It doesn't matter. You just pick one of them, and they all work exactly the same. And I'll tell you exactly how that works in a minute. But I used Google for about 5 or 6 years, and it worked fine. Then I was listening to Leo Laporte, a techie guy on the radio show. He's a national radio show, and he liked Authy, A-U-T-H-Y, and you'll see that is outlined in red on the screen. And he recommended that, and I've been using Authy for the last 3 or 4 years. Authy has some advantages. The first thing Authy lets you do is, if you get a new cell phone, it's very easy to move your accounts from your old phone to your new phone. It used to be with Google, with the authenticator, you had to reinitiate the authentication app for each account. So Authy lets you just move it much easier between phones. The second thing it is it allows you to have an app on your PC as well as on your phone to get the codes. So it works a little bit better. It's free as well, and so I've been using Authy, A-U-T-H-Y. Okay, let's see how this app works. So this is real simple. Remember, this is even simpler. I said this is so simple. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the service, let's say Google, and you want to initiate two-factor authentication. It's going to say, well, do you want to use the Authenticator app? And you say yes. Okay. And so on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a QR code. So in the setup of Google, what you'd be doing is when you say, yes, I want to use an Authenticator app, on your computer screen would come up this QR code. Okay? Now, on the right side of your screen, which would be your cell phone, you would open up the Authenticator app, and you would say, I want to create a new account, and you'd click on that, and it would bring up a scanning window. It would like you're going to scan the QR code, okay? All as you do is take the QR code, you take the scanner from your phone, and you hover it over top of the QR code on your screen of your computer. Boom. Something happens, and you now have an account. And that's all there is to it. It's that simple. It takes a couple of seconds to do. Boom, it's there. So how does the app work? Like what happened here? All as the app is it's a timer. It's a timer. When you scan that QR code, it starts a digital timer. And it randomly generates a 6-digit code every 30 seconds, right? And yes, the bad guys could download the app. That's not a problem. But they would never, ever be able to synchronize the exact time when you started it. In other words, when you click that button and you sync the two together, they would never know what that exact time was. And that's what creates the 6-digit code. So now when you want to get your 6-digit code, your wherever you're logging into your Google account, it says what is the 6-digit code. You just open the app up and you'll be able to see what the 6-digit code is. So what are the advantages to the Authenticator app? Well, the app works on all sites, and it doesn't matter which one you use. They're all free. It works locally on your phone. You don't even need to be connected to the internet. And it creates the 6-digit code that's good for 30 seconds. And then you just enter that in. That's why some of you probably said, gee whiz, 6 digits. There, with the supercomputers we have, it could probably be hacked. That's true, but not in 30 seconds. So the code will change every 30 seconds, all right? And that's called the Authenticator app. And that's basically what I use for all my accounts. All right. The third method is the simplest method. And this is not probably for everyone, but for techies, it works really well. I found this particular service only available on Google. And maybe it's available on some other sites, but Google does use this. And what this does is this in the setup of your, in the security features of your account, it will ask you if you want to take a device, and let's say your cell phone, and you want to make it a trusted device, all right? And you say yes, and there's a little process you go through to verify that your phone now is a trusted device. So now if you're trying to log in, you get a push notification to your phone coming up, as you'll see here on the right-hand side, and you'll get a message like this saying, trying to sign in, it'll say so-and-so is trying to sign in from another computer. Is this you? And you can, if it is, you say yes, and boom, it lets you in. You don't need to put the second factor. You don't need that 6-digit code. This is actually really helpful for techies like myself, who 2 days ago, I was setting up a computer. I put some Linux on it, and I needed to get into my Google account. So what would happen is when I tried to get into my Google account, I just got a push notification on my cell phone and saying, "Hey, is this you?" And I said yes, and boom, I'm in. So it's an easy way to do it. Probably not everybody needs to do that way. All right, here is the last way, the sixth and last way. This is the most secure, and this is the braid dead way. All right, this is it's using a key. Yes, a key. Now I have to tell you, there's a little some fun with this. I wanted to find some pictures of keys. So one of the companies that makes keys is called Yuba. So I did a search for Yuba, and I got the Locksmith Yuba City Key Company, which actually makes keys, physical keys, not digital keys. And anyway, so this is the picture from their site. So these are keys that you would have in your house. So you actually can use a key to lock your computer, just like your car, just like your house. You use a physical key. And these are the keys that you would have. And to give you, there are a lot of different companies that make them. On the bottom left here, you'll see Google's keys. They sell these. I think they're around $50 for the two of them. You'll see that there is a physical key that actually goes into the computer, and there's one here on the side, which is your Bluetooth key, right? Because you wouldn't be able to plug a key into your cell phone, so you would use the Bluetooth key. So you'd either have a physical one that you plug in. And so when you use these keys, you do not need the second factor, because the second factor is in the key. And unless you have the key in your computer, you're not going to get into those accounts. All right, if you work for Google, you can only access your account with the Google key. And employee accounts don't get hacked. This completely stopped any hacking, because that's an encrypted key and there's nobody else that has the code. So you have to use that key to get into your account. All right, so here are the four methods of two-factor authentication we talked about today. There's simple, which is the text messaging. There is simpler, which is the authentication app. There's the simplest, which is the push notification. And there's the brain dead, which of course is the security key. So my final comments are this, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips that you can take home with you. Two-factor authentication generally doesn't work on shared accounts. And in our computer club, I see a lot of people that has a husband and wife shared account. And shared accounts really don't work well with two-factor authentication. The second thing is, you really do require your own cell phone. So again, sharing a cell phone with a partner doesn't usually work in this situation. And as we move into the post-COVID era, a lot of the monitoring devices, we talk a lot about watches and personal health monitoring devices that are going to be coming out for you in the next few years. Again, all are very person specific and are related to your own cell phone. So it really is you really need to each have your own cell phone, particularly for security as we move on into the future. Well, thanks for watching. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Two-factor authentication explained. Remember, if you like the video, please click the like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again, and thanks for watching my video.
All right. Super. Now, here's where we would be ending the live broadcast with YouTube. So, and then I would be introducing Ray now as he's coming in. And so I will introduce Ray. Ray is going to do, Ray, my toes are tapping. Let's get on with it. And we will, unlike last time, we will be continuing on with the show for our Q&A after Ray's segment. Okay, so that's how I'll be working this. But the live broadcast would finish now for the live YouTube. Okay, Ray, take it away.
Okay, let's do this. I got rid of this before. There we go. And So today's going to be a little different. I'm going to show a YouTube video, and this is going to be about the song we all know on New Year's Eve, Old Lang Syne. Now, from the first time I heard this song and the words to it, I didn't understand the meaning. As an example, the very first sentence, should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Why would I want to forget people in my life that I consider acquaintances? Such an individual could become a good friend someday. Anyway, thanks to YouTube and today's technology, here is this famous New Year's Eve song finally explained.
The stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve usually sounds like this. This is Auld Lang Syne, a song that represents the emotional conclusion to another year.
Oops.
But it might surprise you to know it's also a soccer anthem in the Netherlands. Or in Japan, it's a traditional song about fireflies. And the original was written centuries ago as a Scottish celebration song. So how did this song that's managed to spread across the world become the song we sing when the ball drops?
My whole life, I don't know what this song means.
A lot of people share this confusion about Auld Lang Syne because the lyrics are sort of hard to figure out. Let's start with the title, Auld Lang Syne. Individually, these words mean old, long, and sense, which, taken together, translate to something like, for old time's sake. It's written in Scots, a language spoken by about 1 million people in Scotland today. The rest of the lyrics are a mix of English and Scots words, like, and there's a hand, my trusty fear, and we'll tack a right good willy wat. What is that?
So fear means friend. Tak a right good willy wacht. So a wacht, related to the word draft in English, would be a good pint of beer, I imagine.
This song asks you to remember people from your past and raise a toast to them, which made it celebrations. And that line about taking your friend's hand, that's related to a traditional dance British people still do today. The guy who popularized this song was one of Scotland's most famous exports, Robert Burns. Burns was a poet writing in the 1700s, just after Scotland and England unified to create the Kingdom of Great Britain. He witnessed the decline of traditional Scottish culture in favor of English norms. So he devoted the end of his life to preserving this dying culture by traveling the country to collect traditional poetry and songs to get them published. Auld Lang Syne was one of the letter to his music publisher, George Thomson. Burns claimed he wrote down the lyrics after hearing an old man singing it. He called Auld Lang Syne
Looks like we lost Ray.
Where did Ray go? Oh no, he can't get back in.
Uh-huh.
I better unlock the meeting. Better unlock it. Maybe he'll come back.
Maybe he had a little too much celebration.
Yeah, I suspect it probably was he needs 5G.
Either that or the snow started.
Yeah. Maybe he'll come back. I think the meeting's unlocked. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, if Ray comes back in, that's great. If not, we will end the meeting now. And we will, but we'll be staying on for another 10 or 15 minutes if anyone has any questions on two-factor authentication. Bob and I didn't discuss this with Bob before I presented it. It was interesting. Bob, exactly what Bob said was right in the video, so that was cool. If I can, I'm certainly happy to stick around and answer any questions. And it's now 10 o'clock, so if you want to take off, that's just fine. If you want to stick around, we can do some questions.
Robert Newton had his hand up.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My question is how early, because you guys are on one time and I'm on another time, what's the earliest time you can get in before you get 100 of them inside.
Well, we start the meeting at 8:30 Pacific time.
Okay.
And so you would be able, as long as you're in the first 100 people that come in, and I don't know, I mean, so far we haven't had 100, so it doesn't matter. Between 8:30 and 9, you can come in anytime there. And once you're in, right?
Ron, if you
Okay.
remember back in episode
Episodes.
1, we did break 100. But
Yes,
some people didn't get in.
So
that's
it's
right.
8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, between
8:30
8:30
is the
and 9
earliest.
o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, you can log on and you don't have to sit there and listen to everyone
Right.
for
Oh, yeah.
half an hour. Just log on and turn your screen off and just sit there and you'll be fine.
That's what I'll do.
Sure.
Thanks.
I'd like to ask Bob, our security expert, at what his thought is about the quote unquote Russian hack of Cloudflare.
First of all, was it really Russia or was it China? I'm still not convinced that it was technically Russia, but Russia seems to ring more bells with some people.
I
still
bet it
think
was China, because China has a good way of blaming other people and putting stuff in, making it look like somebody else did it.
That's
But thank
correct.
you, guys.
Sure. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Personally, my personal feeling is it's China related and it's China originated. And it got to lots and lots of companies. I
And
mean,
go-
lots of companies.
and
There are
government
many that
agencies.
didn't make the papers, including Microsoft, by the way.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any specific questions on 5G or two-factor authentication
I
or?
have a question on two-factor authentication.
Sure, go ahead, George.
The problem I haven't overcome is what happens if I lose my phone? It has my Google account on it. I do have a screen lock, just a pattern because I can't be bothered with entering lots of dots. And I carry the one-time codes in my wallet so I can get into accounts and block them from. But it seems to me that first of all, you cannot turn off Google accounts on your phone. It just you know that's a no-no, it seems. So you can't even if you've lost your phone, if somebody can get into it, you can't undo that. I mean, to me, yeah, you can wipe the phone. I guess that's one solution. But by the time you've discovered you've lost it, it's a long time typically.
So the answer to the first part of your question, I think you answered it partly yourself, is that if you lost your phone, how could you get back into your Google account? Well, when you create two-factor authentication in your Google account, it allows you to create 10 passwords that are not time expired, 10 6-digit codes. And in my case, I have those printed off and laminated, and they sit in my wallet behind my driver's license. So that if I get somewhere and something happens and I lose my phone, or someone steals it or something like that, then I can't. I can log into my Google account and I can use one of those. They're one-time only passwords, right? So I would have one chance in getting in, and then I could either turn off two-factor authentication or I could do whatever I wanted, whatever my strategy was. So that's how you would do that. Now, also using Authy, which is the app that I talked about, is I have Authy also on my computer, not just on my phone, because it allows you to put the app on your physical device. So I have that on a number of my devices, not just my phone. So I can get those 6-digit codes, not just from my phone. So that to me is a bit of an advantage. And I think Google's changing. I'm not sure. I haven't used Google's Authenticator app for a while, but I think others are doing similar where it won't just be on your phone.
Yeah, I do think that it's really critical that people have screen locks on their phones. People who walk around with their phones, and I happen to help people, and that invariably they got no screen lock at all. Somebody finds their phone, they're into their Gmail account, they're into everything. They're even into their authenticator.
Right.
If you don't put a screen lock on, you're just and the phone is a very common thing to lose.
I think now, I'm not sure. You'll have to, I could be wrong on this, but I think some of the apps will not install unless you have the screen lock on and you have it sort of locked either by some password or fingerprint reader, right? They won't install.
What keeps Authy from being hacked?
It's again, it's an authenticator app. You can't really hack the app because it sits on your phone. There's no way you can actually hack it. So it's and all the apps are the same. It sits on your phone, as resident on your phone, and it generates these 6-digit codes. Anyone could generate 6-digit codes, but it doesn't. The key is the code started at the time you synced it, and no one else can have that. And these devices have been around for years and years and years. So it's not just something recently. I remember my son-in-law has a bank account in Singapore, and when he opened the account, they gave him a little dongle that he carries around in his, and it's a 6-digit code generator, which is the same thing.
Ron, there's a question from Bill DeLuca. He's got his hand up.
Bill, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. My hand was left up from before. It didn't come down, but I got
Hey,
another one now.
I'll
I'm trying
take,
to install Authy on my cell phone.
Right.
And it asks me to enter my Authy cell phone number. And it says put a number in, and I put in, and it's 1 for the United States. And then when I try to enter my number, it goes in as though the 1 was the first number of the cell phone number. And as a result, I can't get all my cell phone number in.
Just leave the 1 off. Just leave the 1 off and just enter it in without the 1.
I can't get to it now to get it off.
oh,
I just uninstall the app and reinstall it, and then put the and then just do it. You don't need the 1 in front.
Okay, thank you.
Ron, hey, Ron, Bill
Connie
James
was
has his hand up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Connie does too.
Well, my question is Authy just for Google apps? Because I also have the Microsoft Authenticator as well.
Yeah, they all work. Doesn't matter which one you use. They all work exactly the same way. So you can use, if you're using Microsoft, you don't want to use a bunch of different ones. You want to only use one for sure, right?
That's my question.
You only want to use one. And I don't care if you use Microsoft. In fact, Microsoft just announced, and someone in our group here wrote me about a week ago and say, hey, what's with this? And Microsoft's bringing out a new app that is an authenticator app, but also is going to store your password. So there's another level coming out. And so is that going to be good or not? I don't know, but you only want to use one app. I don't care what app it is. If you want to use Authy, if you want to use Google, if you want to use Microsoft, even LastPass has their own authenticator app. Doesn't matter. They all work the same way. Some might have some specific advantages. If you use LastPass, maybe there's an advantage if you're using LastPass to use the LastPass, authenticator app. It just depends on you, but they all work the same. They're all just a time generating. They just start as a time sequence and will generate the 6-digit code.
Chris has his hand up.
Go ahead. Who's next?
Connie was next, and then Chris.
Connie?
You're muted, Connie.
Muted.
Sorry. I have a question for Bob. Bob, you've talked about sidewalk in past meetings. Do you have to worry about that with the Fire Sticks?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not a Fire Stick.
Okay. And then on the 2-factor, I use that all the time, but I also have a feature on my Samsung phone called Secure Folder, where it provides a second level of security where you can put sensitive apps in there. And so it requires a second password. And I feel that that's helping to make things a little more secure.
Sure. Chris, did you have your hand up? Who was next?
Yes,
Yeah, Chris.
Chris Wazinski? Go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had a question and a comment. The question is, when you were going over your predictions with all the anti-malware things that you promote on Chromebook, I was surprised that I didn't hear any future predictions of what Chromebook, since it's outselling PCs and other things, was going to do into the new year. That surprised me. Anybody have any comment on that?
Chromebooks are going to continue to grow. Security is real simple. You don't have to do anything. It's all done for you. You don't need a pass, it's simple, right? So that would be my prediction.
Okay, now the second thing has to do with Dewey's presentation on 5G. Recently, and I want to recommend this again, there on Mobile Internet Resource Center, there's an 8-minute video on the FCC C-band auctions. And that goes into the 3 different frequencies that the 5G is going to be transmitted on. And apparently this middle frequency is one that they all want to get to. And Verizon and AT&T really don't have enough of that bandwidth. And FCC is auctioning that, and they expect the auctions to be in the $50 and more billion amounts. So what the comment was is the reason that T-Mobile bought Sprint is because they had quite a bit of that frequency available. And so the T-Mobile's got not all they need, but they got a lot of it. So there's going to be a real fight between AT&T and Verizon. Now, what they did say is that middle band, which I think is called the C-band, the only phone right now at this moment that has that, the ability to get those signals is the iPhone 12. But it's very soon in the new year, you're going to see all the carriers coming out with phones, all manufacturers coming out with phones that take those frequencies. Now, their recommendation was, don't buy a 5G phone now unless it's the iPhone 12. Just wait a little bit and you'll find that. I offer that just as a suggestion. Again, it's an 8-minute video, and it's called I remember the exact name. It just went dead on my other machine, but it's on the Mobile Internet Resource Center, and it's about the auction for the 5-band 5G frequencies. I'm done. Thank you.
So what I don't know, Judy, I might just answer that. 2 things that I would say on that comment is, I always used to preach when buying a phone, buy an unlocked phone and do the homework yourself. I think we're getting to the stage now where this is not a good idea, and that life is getting really complicated with these networks now, and you have to decide where you're going to be and what network you want to be on. And I think you're going to need to really talk to the companies and figure this out. And Dewey alluded to in his article on dynamic switching. And if you're not able to switch between these frequencies, then you're really in a bad way. And a lot of the 5G phones that have come out in the past year have not had that in them. So that's a big issue. You need to really make sure you're, because like Dewey said, you might just be running 4G as faster. What really are you going to be getting? So I think Chris, you're right on that, but you really need to talk to your carriers and learn something about that. But remember, when we talk about this, we're talking about mobile 5G. My prediction is fixed 5G, which I think everyone should be looking into, and that's a different kettle of fish.
I caution people to be very careful. If you're buying a phone just to get 5G,
right,
it's not a good time to do it, because phones are built within 2 years. It's going to be out of date, and it may be out of date sooner. As Ron was saying, that some of the 5G will become available, may not be what's in your phone. So unless you really need a new phone, I would wait as long as you can to see how a lot of this works out. So you don't buy a phone and you can't use the 5G, and so you got to buy another phone. And these things aren't cheap anymore.
Do you have any comment on that? Dewey, do you have anything to
Yeah,
say?
I think these are all good points. Chris Rosinski, I definitely agree with him. And by the way, these auctions on the frequencies are going to begin this next month in January. So a lot of things will change. And when I made my recommendation in today's video of if you're buying a new phone, look at a 5G phone. And of course, I followed it with be sure that you research it thoroughly so you know what you're buying. And if you're buying something that's not going to be outdated very quickly. So those are
Ron,
And don't listen to the salespeople.
Ron,
Yes, go ahead.
the Pixel 5 that I have, one of the settings is on there is preferred network type. 5G is recommended, and then you have a choice. You can pick LTE, 3G, or 2G. So it's up to you what you decide to pick on the Pixel 5.
I might add, the trick is what frequency the phone receives. And there's different bands, and that middle band, the C band, of course, what frequency it receives has to do with what antennas are in it. Now, this auction is going on this year, and then the next time the auction will be, carriers will be available to get those frequencies is 2023. So this isn't just going to end this year. You're going to have some of the carriers have those frequencies, which does the mid-band, which will allow, I'm talking about now, we're not talking about home-based things, we're talking about mobile phones. And they will have a longer distance at this mid-band. Everybody wants to be in the mid-band because you will get reasonably fast 5G that's a little bit faster than 4G. The lower band is like Dewey said, it's very, very slow and often slower. So when somebody says they have 5G on the phone, that doesn't mean much because it's one of 3 kinds of 5G, and you have to know what frequencies the phone gets in order to know whether you're going to be able to receive what's clearly going to be the preferred system, which is the mid-band 5G. That's it.
Unfortunately,
said,
looking
Chris.
at your phone, there's no way to tell what you're getting.
Right. Yeah.
Does that mean, does dynamic switching means that the phone has the ability to switch between bands?
Yes.
Okay, because I understand the Samsung phones do have that feature.
They have to have the antennas. Without the antennas, nothing's going to happen.
Well, it's not only the antenna, but it's got to be built into the CPU. So it depends on what CPU the phone is using, because that's part of what's in the CPU.
Right.
So it's more than just dynamic switching?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. And so you got to make sure, and that's why it's important to talk to these carriers and find out. Well, listen, you guys, it's 20 after, so we have gone an extra 20 minutes. I want to keep this really, I mean, we could talk all morning, I'm sure, right? Like we're techies, we'll talk all morning. But I think we should probably end it there. Does anyone have anything specific that was mentioned today that you want anything clarified? Is there anything in closing?
Just want to tell you thank you.
Yes, and please, and remember that video, the 2-factor authentication video, you'll be getting the link, and it's on YouTube now. And so if you want to play it at your computer clubs, you want to share it around, you can do whatever you want with it, but it is available and you can rewatch it. Please, I think Bob said that earlier today. He took the words right out of my mouth. Make sure you turn on 2-factor authentication. It is so important because this is going to be the year of the hackers and the bad guys. Right, Bob?
Tony Pizza had his hand up.
Yes, about the 2-factor authentication.
Yep.
There's a new feature of Windows 10, Your Phone, that's supposed to, I think, be able to receive text messages that your phone would get. Therefore, you'd be able to get that 2-factor signal right on the computer. So not having to grab your phone, look at the number, and then you'd have the 6 digits right there.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
correct,
haven't
and
used
it works. It
Yeah,
works.
it does.
I can
Yes,
tell
I
you.
just I just did a video on your phone and what it does and so on. It definitely works.
Yeah.
And I do want to caution everybody. A lot of times on 2-factor authentication, it says, do you want to send a text message or an email message? Text is much more secure than email is. So you might want to bear that in mind to stick with the text if you can.
And
Usually
to follow
faster
up,
too.
and to follow up what Bob said earlier, everyone should have their own cell phone. This doesn't work by sharing a cell phone. The other thing it does not work well with is if you share an email account. That, you just isn't going to work. You can't do that.
T-Mobile senior plan, 2 phones, $55.
Yeah.
Ron,
So-
I have a quick question.
Okay.
I have always been coming on a PC. Today I'm on my Mac, and always before I've been able to see all of the people's pictures that are attending. Today I see you, me, Bob, and Hewie.
And who else more would you want to see?
Well, I'm nosy. I want to know who else was here.
You're on an iPad.
Are you viewing
aren't
it?
you?
Are you viewing it in gallery mode?
Well, you guys had me turn it around, and I don't see the option for gallery mode.
Touch your screen and you should get some menus, and one of them will be, I think, of either change view or view. But you're on an iPad, not a
I
Mac.
can switch the camera. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, there you guys are. Hello, everybody.
Hello, say hello. Hello, everyone, to Dorothy.
Good
right,
time to
guys.
say goodbye.
Time to say goodbye. We'll
I
see you
got a
guys next
question
week.
before you go. I have
Yeah.
a question before you go. Where's our present?
That was it.
That was it. You got
This is
your
it.
present.
What was it?
The Q&A.
Q&A
Oh,
session.
okay. I'm sorry. I was waiting for some kind of present here. I was getting all
It
excited.
was the last 20 minutes that we've extended the show.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't appreciate the present.
See you guys
Well,
next
go back
week.
and watch the tape of it.
Yeah. I think
Bye,
I'll
everybody.
include-
Happy New Year.
Just hold on. Whoa. Does everyone want me to include? I think the Q&A should be included in the presentation. Don't you think that? Would you like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
absolutely.
I'll include the Q and I won't cut. I cut out the first half hour of us just socializing, but I'll leave the Q&A in. Okay. Sounds good. See you guys next week. Eh?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay. Happy.
Bye.